The year is 1970. Henry Hill, Jimmy Conway, and Tommy DeVito go to a remote location and open the boot of their car. A man covered in blood and tablecloths is lying there. Tommy stabs the man and Jimmy shoots him. Time flashes back to East New York, Brooklyn, 1955. 13-year-old Henry admires the gangsters because it means being somebody in a neighborhood full of nobodies. He watches Tootie Cicero, who runs the cab stand and pizzeria for his brother Paulie, the boss of the crew. Henry gets a job at Tootie's cab stand. He believes that Paulie is doing a good thing by protecting people who can't go to the police. Henry meets Jimmy Conway, one of the most feared men in the business of gangsters. Jimmy loves stealing and bribes police officers to protect him.
How you doing, Joe?
We made them partners.
Henry is arrested for selling cigarettes, and Jimmy praises him for not revealing any information about the crew. It is 1963. Tommy and Henry frequently steal from the airport. Henry thinks that any other way of life is ridiculous. Tommy convinces Henry to go on a double date with him. Henry is bored and his date, Karen, thinks he is obnoxious. Tommy and his date make Henry and Karen promise to meet them for another double date. Henry doesn't show, and Karen makes Tommy take her to look for Henry.
You got some nerve standing me up.
She scolds Henry. He is interested in her fiery nature, so he takes her on a proper date. Karen is impressed and asks Henry what he does for work. He says he's in construction. Henry and Karen get married. Karen sees that Henry has two families, his blood family and his gangster family. Karen is happy as she meets Paulie's crew. Karen slowly realizes that Henry and his crew are different when she talks with the wives and girlfriends of Henry's friends. Karen worries that Henry will go to prison, and he reassures her by saying he won't get caught. Karen is comforted and realizes that she doesn't see what Henry does as a crime anymore. Karen and Henry do everything with Henry's crowd. There are no outsiders, and it seems normal. She finds herself being proud that Henry can do the things he does. They have lots of money and live comfortably. It's June 11th, 1970, in Queens, New York. There's a party at Henry's restaurant for Billy Batts to welcome him home from prison.
Hey, Tommy, all dressed up, all grown up and doing the town. Look at this.
Tommy arrives and Billy teases him. Tommy loses his temper and leaves. After the party, it's just Henry, Jimmy, and Billy at the restaurant. Jimmy tells Billy that things have changed in the 6 years he's been gone. Tommy returns. He and Jimmy beat Billy to death, and his body is wrapped in tablecloths. Henry says that most gangsters accept murder. It is used to ensure everyone stays in line, but soon shooting and killing people over small arguments is accepted as no big deal.
What do you hear about that thing?
Paulie asks Henry if he knows what happened to Batts. Henry denies knowing anything and is asked to keep his eyes open because the other gang leaders are questioning Paulie. Henry is having an affair with a woman named Janice and gives her an apartment nearby so he can stay there a few nights a week. Karen insists that Henry is cheating on her. Henry is angry and tells her it's all in her head.
Up in the head, Karen. This is all in your mind.
Henry and his friends are playing poker. Tommy argues with the bartender, Spider, about not serving him properly. A few nights later, Spider's foot is bandaged up and he's serving drinks at Henry's poker game again. Tommy teases him about his bandaged foot. Spider gets upset and talks back to Tommy, who gets angry and shoots Spider. Jimmy is annoyed with Tommy and says that he overreacted. Jimmy says that Tommy has to bury Spider alone, and Tommy says he's okay with it. Karen goes to Janice's apartment and shouts at Janice about her affair with Henry. Karen goes home and wakes up Henry with a gun pointed at him. She finds she can't hurt him and is still attracted to him no matter how bad she feels. She doesn't want to share him with anyone else. Henry convinces Karen to put the gun down. She does, and he grabs the gun and threatens her with it. Karen cries and shouts that she's sorry. Polly tells Henry that Karen came to him and says that Henry needs to settle down with his wife because appearances need to be kept up. He sends Henry away with Jimmy for a job. Jimmy and Henry beat up a man for money. When they return home, they find their names in the newspapers. The man they roughed up had a sister who worked as a typist for the FBI. Her testimony results in Polly and members of his crew being arrested. Henry says prison is only bad for other people, but it's alright for wise guys. Polly and his gang can live together in a small apartment within the prison instead of mixing with everyone else. They bribe guards. Henry sells pills in jail and keeps his drug dealings secret. Time passes. Karen visits Henry in prison. She sees Janice's name on the visitor register and confronts Henry about it. Henry tells her to forget about everyone else and insists that she keeps smuggling him items so he can sell them and put food on the table. Karen agrees, but doesn't want to hear about Janice again.
Really careful while we do it.
4 years later, Henry is released from prison. Things seem to return to normal. Polly speaks with Henry alone and tells him to stop selling drugs now that he's out of jail. Polly warns him about Jimmy and Tommy, saying they're wild and take too many chances. Henry tells him he'll steer clear of selling drugs. Henry waits a week before unloading the cocaine he wants to sell. He has a new girlfriend, Sandy, who mixes the cocaine at her place. Soon, Henry asks Tommy and Jimmy to help him with the drug trade and makes sure that the drugs come from Pittsburgh so that Polly doesn't know about it. He has a woman named Lois Bird smuggle drugs for him. Henry's friend, Maury, tells him about a possible heist that will set them up for life. The heist will become the biggest in American history, the Lufthansa heist. Jimmy gathers a crew for the heist and it goes well. The men celebrate their success at a bar together. Jimmy gets upset with the men for buying expensive things, as they need to lay low for a while. Maury keeps trying to get his cut of the money from Jimmy, who tells him to relax. Tommy tells Jimmy and Henry that he will be made, which means that Polly will sponsor Tommy and invite him in as one of the high-level gangsters. Being made will set him up for becoming a gangster boss himself one day. Henry congratulates him.
Huh? He's gonna get made? We're gonna work for this guy one day. He's gonna be a boss.
Maury tries to get his money from Jimmy again, but Jimmy ignores him and leaves Henry to calm him down. Maury agrees to relax. Henry believes that Jimmy is going to kill Maury when Henry is told to bring Maury out for drinks. Jimmy says he won't kill him, and Henry is relieved. Later that night, Tommy kills Maury. Jimmy tells Tommy to cut Maury up and get rid of the car and call him when it's done. Maury's wife, Belle, shows up at Henry's house saying that Maury hasn't come home, and she's worried because she knows something has happened. Henry says he'll look for Maury. He finds out what happened, and Jimmy thinks he should tell Belle that Maury ran away with another woman. Jimmy begins killing the crew he hired for the heist. Henry believes that Jimmy doesn't want to share the stolen money. Henry has never seen Jimmy so happy. Jimmy is making money through Henry's drug deals. The heist pressure is calming down, and Tommy is going to be made. Jimmy and Henry can never be made because they aren't 100% Italian. Being made is the highest honor. It means you are part of a family and a crew, and no one can mess with you, but you can mess with other people as long as they aren't members of your crew. To Jimmy, Tommy being made was like all three of them being made. Henry reflects on how they call each other Goodfellas, meaning that someone is one of them in a good way. There were good fellas and wise guys. Tommy is brought over to a house to be made. He walks in and finds an empty room. He is killed as revenge for murdering Billy Batts, who was a made man himself. Jimmy finds out that Tommy is dead. He is angry, but there is nothing they can do. It's Sunday, May 11th, 1980, 6:55 a.m. Henry is at Sandy's place. He places a gun in a bag and leaves. Henry's plans for the day include selling the guns to Jimmy, picking up his brother Michael from the hospital, collecting cocaine from his Pittsburgh connections, and giving some cocaine to Lois to smuggle to Atlanta. He notices a helicopter outside Sandy's house. 8:05 a.m. Jimmy doesn't want the guns, so Henry plans to sell them to his Pittsburgh guys to make his money back. Henry sees the helicopter again and almost causes a car accident. 8:45 a.m. Henry picks up Michael from the hospital. He plans to drop Michael at the house and pick up Karen. He sees the helicopter a third time, and his brother tells him he's being paranoid. 11:30 a.m. Henry is preparing food for the big dinner he has planned for Michael. He and Karen leave. As they are driving, Karen sees the helicopter. 12:20 p.m. Henry is paranoid and believes he's being followed. He and Karen go inside a shop to wait out the helicopter. 1:30 p.m. They see the helicopter is gone and leave the shop. 3:30 p.m. They drop the guns off at the Pittsburgh guy's motel room. Henry collects the cocaine and plans to take it to Sandy's house to be mixed. Henry calls home, tells Lois to be ready, and makes sure Lois knows to leave his house before making any calls, as his phone could be wiretapped. She tells him she knows what to do, and then calls from his home, ignoring what she was told. 6:30 p.m. Henry gets home and starts cooking immediately. He then goes over to Sandy's place to mix the cocaine. 8:30 p.m. Sandy is packing the drugs and is upset that Henry only visits to have sex, mix drugs, and leave. Henry reassures her that that's not the case. He then grabs the cocaine and leaves laughing. 10:45 p.m. Henry and his family sit down for their meal and have a good time. Lois asks Henry if she can go home to fetch her lucky hat. Henry is annoyed, but Lois says she doesn't care and needs her hat because she won't fly without it. They get in the car to fetch her hat.
Please, freeze! Blow your brains out! Shut the car off slowly!
When they're arrested, Karen screams for Michael to lock the door. She rushes to the bathroom and flushes the drugs down the toilet. Henry discovers that the police have been surveilling him for a month. Karen visits Henry in jail and says that Jimmy has offered money to know what's happening and to talk to him. Henry isn't worried about Jimmy, but about Polly, as he knows there's a good chance Polly will kill him. He's worried that Jimmy will be killed by Polly too. His new plan is to stay alive long enough to sell off the rest of the drugs, and he is furious when he finds out that Karen flushed it down the toilet. Henry apologizes to Polly, who is angry that Henry lied to him. Henry begs for help, and Polly gives him some money. Polly then turns his back on Henry to protect himself. Henry realizes he has no option but to give himself to the police as a witness. In court, Henry testifies against Jimmy and Polly, who are found guilty. Henry is now in witness protection, but finds it difficult to leave the life of crime, as it is a life he loves. Henry now has to live an average middle-class life like everyone else. He has to live as a nobody, which is what he feared becoming when he was young.